no to this again. Sometimes there's a question that looks really, really difficult, but it actually is probably the easiest one on the test. Like, you might see one that looks really hard, and it's like if you pay attention to one word, you can get the answer. So again, no, there's not an impossible question. They can all be done in about a minute. All the problems can be solved in about 1 minute or less, which may seem impossible at this point, but once we work on some strategies, you'll have a better idea. All right, so here's another one here. I need to know a lot of formulas. Math's got a lot of formulas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, should you know some of the formulas? Yes. And do you get a formula sheet at the beginning? Yes, you do. But no, you don't need to know a lot of formulas. They do help, but they don't it's not like the key to getting a good score. It's like, oh, if I just memorize all these formulas, I'm going to be good. That is not going to help you. We're almost done with this list. I know it's a lot here, but these are things to just kind of prime you for like what the heck the test is even about. Guessing worked against you. Now that might have been the case at some point, but no, you should guess. You should put down an answer for every problem. And even the free response problems where you're gridding in your answers, you should still guess, and we'll talk about what to guess as part of this. Last one here, last one I'm going to put up in front of you. I think you're going to like this one the most. I have to be an A or B math student to get a good score. Also false. You can get a good score on this test, whatever that means to you. In this case, I know you need a certain threshold class. It is not at all, there's nothing about this test that's like what's in the classroom. Zero. You do not have to be an A or B math student to get a good score. While having good knowledge in math helps, it is not a requirement. Okay. Any questions or thoughts on that before we get started a little bit more?
No.
Okay. So I tell this to parents, I'll tell it to you. What it takes to get a good test score. Right. What do you think it takes to get a good test score? What's something that you can do to get a good test score?
Uh, I mean,
So let me rewrite this.
practice practice
Yeah.
problems that'll probably or practice
Yes.
problems that'll most likely be similar to ones on the SAT.
Yes. We're definitely gonna do that. How many times should you take the test to get your best score? What do
Uh,
you think? What do you think?
as many times. So you can pick
Good,
the best one.
good answer. Good answer. So the data shows that it's 3 times. Okay. You've already taken the SAT. What do you think happens the first time a student takes a test?
Uh, I mean, I feel like that would probably be the worst one.
Exactly. So it's the worst because you've never seen it before. You don't know what to expect. There's stress, there's anxiety. A lot of students don't even finish the test. Okay. What do you
Yeah.
think happens the second time they take the test?
I mean, should be a bit better, but
It is better. Better because you're more familiar with the subjects. You know what to expect. And so typically the link here is that you take this in like your junior year. Now I know you're a senior, right? So you've now increased your knowledge. And the third time, you might wonder what could be the difference in the third time? Well, here's the difference. And you kind of alluded to it just now. You pair the test with tutoring and a class on test taking strategies. Okay. So to get your best score, you got to do some regular tutoring like we're going to do. We got to talk about some test taking strategies, and you got to take the test a couple of times. Okay. Now, what colleges are now doing is they're taking what's called your super score. You know what that is?
no, I don't think so.
It's the best score from any attempt.
Oh yeah.
So there's actually no, it's just like guessing. Like there's no reason not to take the test a couple of times. So you should go into this process thinking, okay, I've taken the test already. I didn't do so good. Whatever, doesn't matter. I've got a test date out in front of me. I'm going to do better. Plus, I know more stuff. I'm older, I'm wiser, all that stuff. But you may have to take the test a third time because you're going to then know some strategies. You're going to work on specific things in the test. All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about some problems that you might see in the SAT. All right. So we are going to actually do questions. All right. Now, before we get to this question, I want you to answer this question for me. Is your Joe work graded?
I don't think so.
No. A computer grades your test.
Yeah. It's
So this is
usually,
what's
yeah.
good. Good.
Uh, Sometimes one thing I do is if my work wasn't correct, but it was super close to one of the answers, I usually pick the answer as closest.
Okay. And that is a strategy. It does work. Um, the point here is like, I don't care how you get the answer, and neither does the person grading your test, which is a computer. There's no feelings, there's no emotions. It's just right or wrong. Okay. So
Yeah.
the emphasis is not on how you do it. It's which answer do you select? Okay. So when we read this problem and when I ask you to work through this problem, I don't care how you do it. I'm going to show you some techniques to do it. And I want you to, I want you to learn some strategies, but keep in mind, like, this is not like the classroom. You don't need to be formal. You can do whatever you want. I think you said you played the guitar.
Yeah.
Is there kind of like free playing in guitar world, where you just kind of do whatever you want?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. It's kind of the wild, wild west. You can do whatever you want here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. The physician prescribed the treatment in which a patient takes 2 teaspoons of medication every 6 hours for 5 days. According to the prescription, how many teaspoons of the medication should the patient take in a 24-hour period? So I'd like you to either reread it, do whatever you need to do, and I want you to work on the answer, please.
Okay. 8.
Which letter are you choosing?
C.
All right. C is correct. How much time do you think that took you?
I don't know, like 7 seconds.
Okay. Sorry, I'm grabbing a snip here. Now this does not include the time that it took me to read it. That's how long it took you. What's your initial reaction to that?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna
I was just trying to match up, like, I was just trying to figure out how much, like, how many times 6,
Yeah,
like,
no, this is good. It's good.
times,
It's good.
yeah.
You're doing fine. What I just wanted. So let's do this. I want you to read this out loud. Okay, go ahead and read this out loud whenever you're ready for it, please.
A physician prescribes a treatment in which a patient takes 2 teaspoons of a medication every 6 hours for 5 days. According to the prescription, how many teaspoons of the medication should the patient take in a 24-hour period?
All right. So what I did now is I started the timer. So here's how long it took you to read the question, which was about 15 seconds. And then it took you 15 seconds to solve the problem. So about 30 seconds. Remember I said every question can be solved in about a minute?
Yeah.
Yes, it is totally possible. Okay. And you might wonder, well, why am I bringing up time? The number one problem that students have is time on the exam. They don't feel like they have enough time. They're feel like they're running out of time. They're not aware of their time. Like you said, hey, I thought it took about 7 seconds. It actually was 15. So your perception of time is going to be challenged in this. Like, you want to get into the habit of like, how long is a minute? Like, obviously it's a minute, but like, what is your perception? So I'm going to throw a new problem up in front of you. Okay. And it's not about being fast. It's about being right. Okay. I'm going to put this problem in front of you and I'd like you to try solving it, please.
Uh, 1.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, D.
D. Okay. How much time do you think that took?
Uh, Probably like 30 seconds or so.
Okay. Still under a minute. Really good. Really good. Really good. Okay. Now, how did you solve this? Tell me what you did to solve this problem. Did you try the answers? Did you actually solve it? What did you do?
Tried the answers.
That's fine. Now, did you
That
try
I felt like,
A and then B and then C and then D?
yeah.
So what's the problem with trying the answers in this one?
I mean, it took a little bit, but
But you got the right answer.
yeah,
What would happen if you had gotten down to D and it didn't work? What would you have then done?
solved it.
Okay. So you might see that there's a strategy to decide, well, when do you solve it versus when do you try the answers?
Uh-huh.
And we're going to talk about that. So if you were to direct solve this, you would move the variable to the other side. You might add 2 to both sides. You get 5 equals x. What do you notice about that number?
B.
It's here, but that's not the answer. We want x minus 4. We want to take 5 and subtract 4, which is 1. Okay. So even direct solving has its own set of issues, which is that um, it's there and you might think, oh, it's 5. Good. Well, so this is the challenge of the test. The test is like to know what to do, why to do it, how to do it. The math isn't all that hard. It's in a lot of these problems, but it's something different. So, all right. Here is a new problem for you to look at. Go ahead and start on that one, please.
Um, D.
Are you guessing or is that your final answer?
I mean, yeah, that's my final answer. Yeah.
Did you guess or do you have a reason for it being D? D.
No, I guess.
Okay, and that's okay. That's totally okay. How much time do you think passed?
Probably like 50 seconds.
Okay, so you're getting a little bit better, more accurate at figuring that out. About a minute. You shouldn't take more than a minute per question. Why do you think I keep saying that? Why do you think I want you to only take about a minute per question?
Uh, so that way I don't run out of time.
Yes. Because if you answer all the questions, even if you're guessing, that's better than not answering the questions. So there's some like easy things we can do to get your score up. Now, remember I said like you don't need formulas for the exam. This is one of those problems where it'd be really nice to have the formula for the equation of a circle.
Yeah,
Do you
that's why
remember,
I kind of forgot it. It's been like 2 years.
right. Now, do you remember anything about the equation? Anything at all? Because
Isn't it
even just a
like,
little thing would help.
is it like,
Like, do you
wait,
remember what it
radius
equals? Do you remember what it equals on the right-hand side? What goes over here?
pi r squared?
R squared.
R
And what is
squared.
the radius in your problem?
2.
So it's either B or D. And what do you know the difference between guessing when you're down to two choices?
I don't know.
All right. Have you ever heard of the game show Let's Make a Deal?
I don't think so.
Your mom probably has. She might be able to tell you. So the grand prize was three doors. Door number one, door number two, door number three. And let's just say you're the contestant. Okay. They would say, Tristan, we have three prizes. We've got the trip to the Bahamas. We've got the cookware, and then we've got the brand new car. Okay, so the grand prize. And you don't know which door the grand prize is behind, right?
Uh-huh.
So you're going to guess. What are you going to guess?
Um,
There's not a right or wrong answer. It's just you're going to pick a door. Which door are you going to pick?
1.
You're going to pick one. Okay. What is the probability that you win? Well,
Uh,
it's
1 and
one
3.
out of one and three. Very good. Now, here's what they do in the show. The host says, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of that door for you. Now, you don't know whether it's right or wrong. They just say, all right, we're going to get rid of that door now. And you can then choose the grand prize behind two or three. And what you don't know is where prize is, but you're down to two doors. So now what's the probability of winning if you choose between two and three?
50-50 or 1
50
and 3.
50. Exactly. So which is better success of winning?
Uh, the second one, obviously.
Second one. So if you can get your answer down to two answers, that's better than four, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you can do anything to get it down to two answers, that's way better. All right. Now the correct answer here is actually letter B. The equation of the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. This is h and this is k. X squared plus y squared equals 4. Okay, this last one is actually the equation of what's called a hyperbola. But you did really well. You had a reason to get it down to one of these two, and then you're just guessing between those. Okay. Any questions, thoughts on that?
No.
All right. All right. So here is a new problem for you to try. Go ahead and work on that, please.
Okay. Um, -1.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
How confident are you in your answer?
Uh, 70% confident.
Okay. All right. So here's what we also want. We want you to be very confident every time you answer. Why do you think I might want you to be confident every time you answer?
Uh,
So what happens when you have doubt?
mm, keep thinking about it.
Exactly. Why would that be a bad thing for this test?
If you go back and change and try and change it or something.
That's right. That's a complete waste of time. You can't do that. You have to have 100% confidence in your answer, whether it's right or wrong. Do you remember taking the test and not being confident about your answers?
Uh, yeah, for the entire math part.
Yes. So again, this little stuff will help you. You are correct here. Now, I want to know how you did it because you're one of the few students that actually answered this correctly on the first try. How did you solve this problem?
I think I remembered it because my teacher, because I remember asking how to do a problem like this, and I thought it was like, uh, you just have like -1 on one side, and you kind of solve it. I don't know.
You got the right answer. Like that's why I'm curious because it's the 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 thing to notice is what you just said is that x minus 1 is really minus 3. So what does x actually become here?
Oh, -2.
And that's what you put into the equation. I assume that's what you did. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's okay if you didn't. I'm asking. Um, yeah, it's totally okay. Good. Yeah. And then 2 times -2 plus 3 is -1. This one you really can't try the answers. Just point that out. Like not everyone you can try. And then here's a new problem, which is a free response problem. You definitely do not have the ability to try the answers because you don't have them. Go ahead and try this question for me, please, and tell me what would go in the box here for your answer, please.
Y equals -2x plus 4.
Like this,
-2x.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to, I don't know why I don't have this in my class notes here, but I need to grab something here. All right. So let me put this in front of you. By the way, you're doing really well with your time. Like you're not, your time is not an issue. So in the gridded response, you're filling in these positions. There is no way you're going to be able to put this into this right here. One reason for sure is there's no equal sign, there's no y, there's no x. Okay, so let's try that one more time. What would you put in the gridded position?
Um, uh, 2. Wait, -2. So it's not even a negative sign.
That's right. What does that tell you?
It's not negative.
For sure. Okay, so what do you want to do?
2x plus 4.
Can't, there's no x's. There's no x's. Can't do that. Like what? Tell
2,
me
1
what.
plus 4.
Okay. All right.
Because
I can see what.
x equals 1 usually.
All right. So let me go ahead and pause. This one took a little bit longer than the others for you to solve here. I'm going to just reframe the question here on the screen without anything. I want you to read this part out loud. Can you read that for me?
Oh. Negative. Wait,
Just go ahead and read it.
what is the value of m?
M. M is the slope. So this problem is really saying, what is the slope of the
Oh,
line?
um,
And I'll just add in
well,
here, lines that go up and to the right have positive slope, down to the right have negative slope.
and
What kind?
two, because you go up two and to the right one,
Yes, up to the
right
right
one.
one. Okay, so now let's go back to our grid. There is a negative, I think. I guess not. No, I guess there is no negative. That's a good thing to point out. So here are a couple of ways you could fill in your answer. 2/1. Okay,
Mhm.
here's another way. What does 2 divided by 1 reduce to? Just 2,
Uh,
right?
yeah.
So it could go there. I mean, if you're really, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways to write this. You could go 2.0. So there's an acronym. I worked with a guy, very smart guy. He had a PhD in physics. He's like, Matthew, come into my office. We're going to talk about KISS. And there's a bad representation, but he said keep it super simple. So I'd heard the more negative one. So I don't know why that's not getting rid of. All right, so keep it super simple. What do you think I mean by that in terms of gridding your answer?
Uh,
Which one is simplest?
well,
2.0, 2, or 2/1?
I mean, the one that makes the most sense in my mind is 2/1, but I mean, two is probably the
Right.
most
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. Correct, correct, correct. They're all correct. But which is like the simplest? Well, I think more people would say that 2 is, it's like a poll, 75%, and then the other 15%, and then maybe 10%. I don't know. Like, if you can, keep it simple. That might not seem like a lot, but you had to grid in 3 things here versus 1 here, 3 things here versus 1 here. Anything you can do to save time will help. So keep it super simple. That's always a good strategy. Any thoughts on that?
Uh, why is the middle one right? Like, why doesn't it say anything about it going to the right one?
Because 2 divided by 1 is 2. So we're talking about the forms of everything. So like 2 is really 2.0. It's really 2 divided by 1. These are all the same forms.
Oh, okay.
So because they're just asking for a number. It says, what is the numerical value of M?
All right.
All right, so here is the classic, like, oh, this is an impossible question on the SAT. So go ahead and solve it here. Let me know what you come up with.
Um, B?
This one down here in the lower left.
Yeah.
All right, how did you come up with that?
Well, I mean, since it's in parentheses and there's a square outside, I mean, I figured you just distributed it to everything.
Okay, so let's look at a really simple example. Pick a number. Sorry, I'll do this. 3 plus 4 squared. Okay. I want you to do exactly what you just did here for this problem on the right.
Uh, 9 plus 14 or 16.
which is 25. What is 3 plus 4, though?
7.
What is 7 squared?
49.
Are these the same?
No.
So it's not B. Now, if you remember from a million years ago, they said solve a simpler problem is one of your like strategies for word problems. Do you remember hearing that?
No.
Well, whose music do you try to replicate the most? Like who do you like listening to or playing music of?
Um, I don't know. A lot of people.
Give me one.
Uh, I don't know. Slow dive.
Okay. What's their hardest song to play?
Um, uh, I don't know. When the sun
Okay.
hits.
So okay, here's where we're going with that. Is let's say someone came to you and said, "Hey, I want to learn how to learn. I want to learn how to play slow dive. There's this song I want to be able to play." And you hear them play a chord and you're like, wow, you're terrible. We need a lot of work. You have to solve, you don't ask them to start, playing the hardest song. You'd say, well, let's learn something simpler. And in this problem here, it looks really complicated, but if you just make a simpler problem, you realize right away that ain't the answer. Okay. Now we're going to look at another thing here. Do you remember how to do x plus one squared? How you actually are supposed to write this? What goes in parentheses over here?
X plus 1 and X plus 1.
Okay, and when you FOIL this, you get the following. How many terms does this answer have?
3.
Okay, so your answer should have 3 terms.
Oh.
So if we get it down to C or D, then it's like, huh, well, what's the difference between them? Well, at least we got a shot here. Like these are completely wrong. But maybe we can do it with a numerical example, like what is 3 squared plus 3 times 4 plus 4 squared over 4? Does that equal 49? And if it doesn't, well, that means that C is correct. You'll find that the correct answer is D if you work it out there. Okay, how are you doing? How are you feeling about this right now?
I mean, that problem is pretty weird, but the rest are fine.
Right, but do you see how you could, in time, figure out how to do this problem without actually doing this problem?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Okay, so there's some hope. All right, so let's look at another problem here. Um, all right, I'm gonna put this in front of you. I want you to try as hard as you can not to guess. If you can, go ahead and get started, please. This one.
Uh, uh, D.
Okay. So D is your answer. How much time do you think passed?
Like 50 seconds.
About a minute, yeah. Okay. Of the labeled points, which represent the animal for which the ratio of life expectancy to gestation period is greatest? Where is life expectancy on the graph?
On the left.
Y-axis. Where is
Yeah.
gestation period?
X-axis.
So this is asking you to find the ratio of y to x, or in other words, y over x for each of those points. All right, so for example, B has a ratio of 10 over 50. Do you see how I came up with that 10 over 50?
Yeah.
Okay, the answer is not D. So I want you to retry this with that information.
A.
How confident are you in your answer now?
A good amount.
Good amount. Okay. So let's take a look here. So really I need a little more room here for these. So A is like 7 over 21-ish. B is 8 over 45. And C is 8 over 52. And so I think the challenge here is fractions, but this one's about a third. This one's about a fifth. So yes, that is correct. What was really, give me in your own words, what was helpful in solving this problem?
Um, Nothing. I don't really understand the question at all.
Okay, how did you get the correct answer though after I gave you some information?
Because if D was wrong, then I just guessed the complete opposite of what I answered.
Okay, so you didn't actually calculate any of these ratios.
No, I don't even know what's going on.
Okay, you got to tell me that because I assumed you actually calculated these ratios, and that's not the case. Okay, that is good to know. All right, so guessing is okay, but not for that reason. So let's avoid guessing. If you're going to guess, just tell me, hey, I have no idea. All right,
Okay.
and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to say, hey, you know what, I don't know how to do this. All right, all right. Here's a new problem for you to look at. Uh, Go ahead and give this a try, please.
Uh, A.
Okay, how did you come up with A?
Um, I don't know. I just had a good feeling.
Great. We're not guessing though. So did you do anything to, because you can get a good feeling from the taco you ate last night, or
I
you hear a
mean,
song, right? Like, tell me, give me more information than that.
well, the reason I picked 350 is because 7 out of 50 people, that's like not a very high amount. And I feel like 350 out of 14.8K is not a lot of people either. So I felt like the ratio kind of made sense, like
O-
numerically.
And everything you said is perfect. That's a good justification for why that is the correct answer. Not I had a good feeling. Okay. And what you said here is totally right. Um you ended up basically saying, yeah, I mean 7 out of 50, like what could it be? Well, it's not that many. Now this is a hard one to go to, like to 15,000, 14,878 is near 15,000. So what you can do instead is you can go to 100. They actually teach this way. It's 14 out of 100. And then it's like, all right, well, how do you go from 100 to 150,000? Well, uh, you multiply by some number. Okay. Now, unfortunately, your answer is not correct, but like the reasoning is really good. Like the reasoning is really, 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 really good. Like it's definitely not that one. It's not that one, right? But it is B. Okay. So we got to talk about estimation here, and that's a strategy, estimation. What is 10% of 15,000?
Uh, 1,500.
1,500. Good. Now, 14 out of 100 is 14%. Okay. So the answer has to be more than 10%, more than 1,500. So that's kind of like a way you can get to the correct answer, but your logic is good. But your reasonableness of numbers is still kind of off here, which is why, you're down to these two answers. So we're going to talk about how to deal with percentages, and that will be again another sort of like thing that we can do to get you more familiar with this test. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up here a little bit, here's how the classes proceed. We generally spend about half the class on a test taking strategy. Okay, so we're going to start next week with a test taking strategy. Then we spend the other half of the class on a content area. So we'll work on a specific area, math subject area, to benefit you with the test. So we talked a little bit about what some of those test taking strategies could be, but what we do is I'll present the strategy to you, and then we work on problems where you use the strategy.
Okay.
And then the content area where what I switched to is more of a teaching thing. It's very brief. It's like for example, we might do something like the quadratic formula, okay, or systems of equations. And there's a whole list of these, okay? But we work on problems. So it's a little bit of like me reminding you of the content area. I say, okay, this is how you solve a system of equations. And then we work on a bunch of problems like that. And this is more of the style that you is going to benefit you. And then over time, these testing strategies, they help you to figure out how to do a problem like this one when you have no idea, or I think you mentioned this one you had no idea on. And that's where you can maybe get it down to, two answers. All
Okay.
right, we are all done